The leader of the Economic Freedom Fighters has been crisscrossing the country in the last couple of months, attending the provincial people's assemblies at the parties as the party elects new provincial structures there. This as the country prepares for the 2024 general elections. To speak to us more about the party's plans and where the country is at the moment, let's speak to EFF leader now, Julius Malema, who's in studio with me. Thank you very much for making the time. Good to have you here.
Thank you. Thank you for having us.
Thanks indeed. Let's get straight into the Human Rights Commission.
Yeah.
Let's start there. They have said that your statements uttered at the People's Assembly in the Western Cape, those comments were tantamount to incitement, and they would like you to retract and do so publicly. Otherwise, the roads lead to the Equality Court. Are you willing to retract the statements?
But how do you, as a neutral body, just make a decision without talking to the other side? Because they never said to me, we'll receive these complaints about you. What is your explanation? All I hear is that retract these statements in the next 10 days or else we're going to court. So you can see there is no neutrality. And they say there was display of posters at the EFF People's Assembly in the Western Cape. Those posters, you will know, are from 2013 launch of the EFF in Marikana. So someone went to remanufacture those posters and then sent to the Human Rights Commission. It doesn't even do investigation on basic things. That those things, EFF distanced itself from those posters which were displayed in Marikana. Now the Human Rights Commission says they were displayed in the Western Cape.
Yeah.
Because if they'd asked for an explanation from the EFF before coming into this determination, they would have given them information that this is actually wrong. This was from 2013, and the EFF is on record distancing itself from this. This is the context within which those things that you are saying are an incitement were made, and therefore do not constitute any incitement.
The Human Rights Commission, you say it's clearly taken a position. It's no longer a neutral body.
Absolutely.
And you are not going to explain yourself before them. Why do you take that posture?
Goli, you get information about me, that this is the things I said. You ought to come to me and say, these are the allegations that are being made against you. What do you have to say? What do? You conclude and say, this is what you must do. And what must I say? You have already taken a decision about me. You can as well decide what you want to do with me, but I'm not going to apologize in 10 days. I'm not going to do it. They would rather take us to court. We have no problem going to court, and they will argue our case in court. But that body must be ashamed of itself, because the most basic principle of equality before the law is such that you must hear both sides. That principle has been violated.
That body,
yes,
Mr. Malema, is a Chapter 9 institution. And on the radio this morning, if I heard them correctly, they're of the view that many of their recommendations, so they conduct investigations and their recommendations simply get ignored. Why am I saying this to you? You are a member of parliament. That makes you a lawmaker. Do you not run the risk of denigrating the stature of that body? Shouldn't you be leading by example and saying, okay, we'll comply because this is a constitutional body?
You're asking me to be violated because I'm a member of parliament. I make the law. I know the constitution. I'm not going to be violated because I'm a member of parliament. Nowhere in the constitution does it say members of parliament must be violated, even when it is openly clear. My brother, you ought to agree with me. I've got a right to be heard by the Human Rights Commission. It received complaints about me. It must give me an opportunity to make representations so that I justify the things I said. They make a conclusion without listening to me.
Yeah.
What type of democracy is that, where the other side is not being heard? Is it because I'm an African? Is it because I'm a child of a domestic worker that my view doesn't matter? that my side of the story doesn't matter, that the white man complained, and because the white man complained, his views are supreme than mine. I'm not going to allow that, not from a Human Rights Commission, not from anyone, not even from the courts. The court hears hardened criminals. They hear their side of the story. I'm making a political articulation. And Human Rights Commission, all they can do, what do you mean by this? At least even if they've taken a decision, let them be seen to be, listening to the other side. That's all I'm saying.
And so you say this was political commentary that you
It's a political commentary.
I would like
it's
for
a
the
free
viewers,
speech.
I would like for the viewers to take a listen, and then you and I will continue in a moment. Let's have a listen to the leader of the EFF.
Why are you scared that anything that stands on the way of the revolution, it must be eliminated in the best interest of the revolution, and we must never be scared to do that. The founding manifesto of the EFF says we'll take power by all means necessary. And therefore revolutionaries, when confronted by that situation, should never think twice. Cowards are not for the revolution. The EFF must be known that it is not a playground for racists. That any racist that plays next to the EFF and threatens and beat up the membership and the leadership of the EFF, that is an application to meet your maker with immediate effect. You were beaten by a racist, and you never did anything. Let's hope this new leadership will make a follow-up on that racist, because there must be a follow-up on that racist. I'm not asking you to do what I've not done. When a racist confronted me at Winnie Mandela's funeral, I did what I was expected to do, because I was not scared of a white man. You get beaten by white people here and you call yourself an organization of Fanon. Racism is violence, and violence can only be ended by violence, not any other necessary means. It must be confronted by how it is.
As a black person, I hate racism.
Say you agree with me. You don't. There's nothing you
being.
Disagree with them.
I hate it with my whole
There's
being.
nothing you
but
disagree with them.
Is that the best way for the EFF to deal with violence and racist behavior?
But like Fanon deals with that in the Ratchet of the Earth. If you intensify your reading of Fanon, you'll understand what I'm talking about. The only way to add violence is to deal with it in a violent way. And racism is violence. What do you do, Toli? Because they never hear anything. The only language they know is the language they speak. So they ought to be put at their right place. Are you saying I am a racist by saying no racist must play next to the EFF?
No.
Am I racist?
The issue here is incitement.
What am I inciting? That
say
no racist must play next to the EFF. Is that an incitement?
No.
And if they dare do that, nip it on the bud, cut the throat of racism and white supremacy.
When you say to the members of the EFF in that PPA that you must follow up, I expect you to follow up on that racist.
Yes.
That's incitement.
How is follow up an incitement?
What must they follow up on?
They must follow up on what happened to the racist, and they must intervene decisively.
What does that
Since
mean?
when is a follow up a problem? When I proposed a girl today, I follow up. Is an incitement when I follow up. The English of 405 has changed. That follow up means violence. That's a distortion of the word. They must follow up on what happened to that racist who beat up not only black people, black women. The white man till to date, despite the fact that cases were opened, is still not arrested because it's a white man. Had it been a black guy who unleashed such unjustifiable violence against a white woman, what would have happened to that black person? We ought to confront racism everywhere else where it raises its ugly head. And if it has not been attended to, it must be followed up so that no one dares to repeat such a similar mistake.
In a country that is already battling with violence, I mean, I don't have to tell you the stories that we have been reporting on in the past week, particularly the violation of women at the hands of men. We are a country that is struggling with dealing with violence. Is that the best way that the EFF thinks it can resolve such matters?
What option are you giving me? Where are you when an African woman is beaten with a cricket bat? Where is the Human Rights Commission? The picture is there. If anything, you can't even play it here because it's not favoring your narrative. But the video is there of a white, well-built Afrikaner male beating up an African woman with a cricket bat. It's not an issue on the ENCA because the black lives, I mean, in the 4-5, the black life doesn't matter. I'm not going to buy into that narrative that black people must be beaten up and the next thing I must keep quiet. I'm not going to keep quiet. Do anything you want to do to me. I'm not going to keep quiet. I'm not going to allow the white Afrikaners in particular to perpetuate institutionalized racism in South Africa, and we keep quiet, and we are being silenced by institutions that must be coming into our defense. Where is the Human Rights Commission for that woman who was beaten there? Where are they? Do they think we're a soft target? Let them do what they want to do. We're not going to apologize for that.
And so final word is that there's not going to be any apology and all roads lead to Equality Court.
I'm not going to any Equality Court. They can go to Equality Court. What am I doing in Equality Court? You take me to Equality Court without listening to me first? What happened to those commissioners there who say they are standing for human rights? Why can't they stand for my rights? That an Indian legal head of legal in human rights commission decide on his own, because he thinks he's a deputy white, on his own, to find me guilty and tell me to apologize without listening to me. They've done it to Zuma, they can do it to me as well, I don't care. But I'm not going to be a puppet of people who are advancing white supremacy and want to legitimize their nonsense at the expense of my rights, the rights that so many people died for. I'm not going to compromise on that.
All right, let's move on from that and talk about these provincial assemblies, people's assemblies. You have crisscrossed the country, and one of the issues I'd like to pick up on is that you have berated the structures for